I'm joined by Carol Kaufman today. She's the founder of Pinventory, which is an interesting company because it's all about backing up your life before you actually need that backup. And of course, as tough as it is to say, we saw those devastating tornadoes throughout the Southwest and the Midwest. And you wonder about how those people will be able to recover. You wonder about, do they have a tracking of everything in their house? What does that mean for insurance? What does that mean for their finances? And I want to bring Carol in because your story, anyone can go to the Pinventory site and see, your parents were in a devastating car accident. Your mother died, your father was in a coma, and you had to take care of them. So my guess is this is why you started Pinventory. This is a very serious issue for you.
Yes, it is. That is exactly what happened. I'm the person that got that phone call that nobody ever wants to get. My parents were on their way back from their country home and they were in a car accident. And I got the phone call from the police. And my mom was instantly killed. My dad was airlifted to Hartford Hospital with a less than 2% chance of survival. He actually awakened from his coma after my mom's funeral, and he had lost all of his executive level skills. He had traumatic brain injury. So for the next 14 years, I became his primary care coordinator. And when he passed away in 2008, I went on a 5-year scavenger hunt trying to find all of the documents, all of the investments, all of the policies, all of the people that had worked on his homes so that I could settle the estate. And I immediately started my software company because my mission is that no one should ever have to go through what I went through.
That's an amazing story. I mean, for you to have to do all that, and I know you were a single mom at the time, and you're doing a lot here. But what made you qualified to be able to start this company, right? Because this involves a lot of technology, operations. There's digital media involved. There's insurance, finance. There's a lot going on. So, what was in your background that you said, okay, I'm the person that can do this?
I have learned most of the skills that I have utilized over the last 35 years by the seat of my pants. My formal training is as a special ed resource room teacher, working with emotionally impaired and learning disabled adolescents. I went to the University of Michigan undergrad and grad, and I then transitioned into, of all places, the hedge fund industry. If you had ever
How do
asked,
you go? How do you go from special ed to hedge funds? That seems like a lift.
you marry someone in the
There you
industry.
go. There you go.
That's the only way. And I had said, I don't think this is a good idea. And he insisted, and I did. And it wasn't a great idea. I became a single mom in 1982. And I had learned everything about the industry by the seat of my pants. I'd learned how to market. I'd learned the legal components, the accounting components. I'd learned about soybean crushes on the way out on marketing trips and about arbitrage on the way back. And consequently, I have all of those things in my repertoire now. I understand operations, I understand compliance and all of the components of running a business. What I did then is I had created the way to keep track of the back office. So I started a software company in 1982, and it was called Organizer Systems. And I
The
did invest.
predecessor in a way. This is starting to now ring a bell to what you're doing now.
Yes, yes. I specialize in taking organizational issues and finding ways to resolve them, especially using technology. And I did that with my first company. I started it in 1982. I grew it for 20 years. It was accounting software for hedge funds and funds of funds. If you'd ever asked me prior to that, what was a hedge fund? What was accounting? I mean, I'd taken one accounting course in college.
That's
I
one more than
cer
I have.
and I'd taken one Fortran course with those punch cards. But as I said, you learn by experience, by the seat of your pants. And having done that, I grew the company for 20 years. It was acquired in 2002 by SunGard, which is
Wow.
a very well-known company. And one of the reasons was I was juggling the company, my son, who was 12 at the time of the accident, and then my father. So when SunGard came to me in 2002 and wanted to buy the company, I felt that it was a good time to exit.
Like, this can be someone else's problem now. I got too much to do at home right now.
Well,
And
that was the background for why I was able to then start up a second software company.
is that Pinventory? Is that the second software
That
company?
is Pinventory.
So how does this work? Because I get the sense that I know you're right, right? If someone has, let's say, a fire in their house or a tornado, hurricane, and then you want to go to insurance and you say, hey, I need X number of, I need a $500,000 because that's all the stuff that I had in my house plus the value of the house. But then they say, prove it. It's like, well, I don't know. I can't prove it. I just remember I had some stuff. Like I can see that there's a real issue here. But then I was thinking about it in advance of this, and I thought, well, can't you just like, could my wife and I just go around and take a video of everything, or could we just take a bunch of photos, save that in the cloud, and is that good enough?
The answer is it depends.
Okay.
Most answers to questions you ask me will be it depends. If in fact you really need to replicate what you had, you need to reconstruct what you had to be able to prove it to insurance companies, the answer is you're going to need more than just those photos. In terms of a video, I would never recommend a video.
Really.
Yes,
Tell
yes.
me
And
why.
the reason is because a video is one time in history.
Oh, right, because all of a sudden a month from
All of a
now,
sudden, a
after
month from
Christmas,
now, you buy some
I got
that
new
yes,
stuff.
you
Yeah.
get new things for
Yep.
Christmas. What are you going to do? Take the video all over again? Take pieces of it, start splicing it?
Right.
I recommend, and I have a very simple way because people don't want to do home
No,
inventories.
it's a hassle.
It's a pain.
Yeah.
It takes time. If I told you that I could talk you through doing a home inventory in 90 minutes or less, your house, and I know where you live. You live right around the corner from where I used to live.
Yep.
If I could tell you you could do it in 90 minutes, would you?
Maybe. Maybe
Okay.
60. Maybe get me down to 60.
I can How many rooms do you have? I will tell you that one less than 1 minute per photo with the methodology that I use. Doing a home inventory is like peeling back an onion. There are many layers.
Yeah, because there's all
And
the stuff in the drawers. There's what's in the garage, what's in
yep,
the attic, what's in the basement. It just goes on and on and on, and there's things hiding.
that's the point. If you can get the majority, 80% of what you need, then that would be good. And I can tell you that with cell phones the way they are today, the resolution on them, if I tell you to take one photo of each wall in a room, the ceiling, the floor, and a panorama overview of the room for each room you have, and if you have photos on or pictures on a wall in a hallway, take the hallway so that you can get a very high level basic inventory. If you want to go and that's less than 1 minute per photo. If you use Pinventory, you get an extra bang for that because if you're just using a cell phone, it's all on your cell phone. And if you lose your cell phone, you got no backup. If you're using Pinventory, you're going to take the photo, then you're going to put in the name of what it is, the east wall, the west wall of the living room, the dining room, the kitchen. And the minute you hit save, and you can even dictate something about it, like, oh, I have a grandfather clock there, and I really need to make sure I get an extra picture of that. You can put in comments. And when you hit save, it not only saves the photo on your phone, it saves the photo and the information to your secure online account with Pinventory. And there, after the fact, and after when I say after the fact, it could be a day, it could be a month, it could be 3 months. When you need to, you can then go online, you can attach receipts, you can attach valuations, you can put in stories about it, and unlike on your phone where you've got these pictures along with 400 other photos, on Pinventory, it's already organized by room, by
So,
category.
so where is this? Is this in the cloud somewhere? Is this on your servers? Are you using Google or Azure or AWS? Where does this actually go?
It's on our servers. It's a private cloud with rack space.
Okay.
And we have everything backed up every night at 3 a.m. We have the top type of security. We are encrypted so that there are no concerns in terms of those kinds of issues
Because
that could
obviously
occur.
people don't want to put, oh, here's everything in my house, and I just have it on someone else's computer. It's very personal.
We can't even get into the account. We could not get into your information because we are encrypted. Your password is encrypted.
So who is the customer for this? Is this an individual customer? Is this an institutional customer?
There are multiple kinds of customers. We are B2B, which means business to business, which means we would love for insurance companies to adopt Pinventory and give it to their clients, give their clients the ability to make it easier for both the insurance company when they're trying to determine what the premiums are going to be. There's a big difference between a $1,000 refrigerator and a $12,000 refrigerator. And if the insurance company knows what you actually have,
Then they're going to charge me more.
they
They're
can
going to
give
charge more.
they can give you the right kind of premium that will cover. The biggest issue that we have, or one of the big issues we have in this country, is that of people that have insurance, 67% of them are underinsured because the insurance company doesn't know what they have. And generally, they don't understand the value of the things that they have. So, insurance companies, wealth management firms, realtors, that's business to business where I'm hoping they will give away Pinventory to their customers. We also have customers that are service providers like NAPO members, the National Association of Productivity and Organizational Professionals, and NASM, the National Association of Senior Move Managers, with all of these seniors that want to move and downsize. There needs to be a way to keep track of everything that you're going to be moving, everything you want to sell, everything you want to donate, everything you want to keep yourself. So that's another type of user. And then finally, there's the consumer themselves. A lot of people don't want somebody else to do this for them. They want to do it themselves. So they're do it yourselfers.
So what's your biggest challenge right now in terms of getting the word out? Because anything we know with insurance, people don't want to deal with it, right? It's sort of anything life
Yes,
insurance or doing a will, all that stuff,
I know.
people don't want to deal with it. My guess is this gets treated in the same category.
It does. I think it gets treated in the same category as let's ignore it and it won't happen.
There'll never be
It's
a fire, there'll never be a tornado, there'll never be a flood. I'm never going to
there'll
die.
never be a death.
Yeah.
But what happens when someone dies? Their items, number 1, they have to be inventoried. Number 2, they have to be given to heirs. This is where a lot of family fights start. If people would start ahead of time and determine if you did a home inventory and you knew the total universe of assets that you have, then everybody could comment about what they were interested in. And if there were going to be arguments, you might know ahead of time and it might make it a lot easier after the fact. And it may very well be that things that you want to pass along to your child is something your child absolutely doesn't want. I have a 40-year-old son and I have a basement full of things. And he keeps telling me, "I don't want it. I don't want any of it. Get
Any of
rid of
it.
it."
Get rid of all of it.
Yes.
And get rid of
It's
all of it before you pass so I don't have to deal with it.
it's true. It's true.
So what
So,
happens to all these files when you die, right? Then what happens to the company? Who's going to, like, if the company goes out of business, where do all these files go? If I've put all my personal information in this private cloud, but I'm relying on you guys still being in business.
well, that's assuming that I'm the only one in the company, and I'm not. There are a number of people in the company. I have uh, a succession plan so that if something happens to me, not if, when something happens to me, there is a plan as to who will take over, who will deal with those kinds of things if I pass away before they do.
So when you started this, it sounds like there was no iPhone, because if iPhone was '07, I think you started in '02. So
No, no, I started Pinventory in 2008.
oh, 2008. Okay. So if, yeah, then I was going to say, because my question then doesn't matter. I was going to say, how did you do this before? Cell phone photos were very easy to do, but it sounds like you were taking advantage of that opportunity because
Actual,
it was different.
actually, the product started as a product called CB Data, and it's on a PC. It's a PC version of the software because I didn't trust the internet at the time. I didn't feel that I could comfortably offer a solution that was as tightly encrypted because I was not as familiar with it.
Oh, really? So how? So it worked on? Was it on my, like? If I'm the customer, was it on my local PC or
It's
was it
on
on
your
some other
local
PC?
PC.
But if I have a fire, then what happens? If the whole house burns down?
Well, one of the things that we have incorporated into that product is every time you close that product, it would say, "Do you want to do a backup?" And we would recommend that you back that file up to an external hard drive. And we would recommend that you take that hard drive or the file and store it digitally because that file is totally encrypted and closed and cannot be opened without the program itself, which wasn't on the internet.
I see.
So
I
there were a
see.
lot, we have a lot of security in the PC product that is not available when you go to the web. So it was a major conversion for us to be thinking PC security versus internet
When
security.
did you switch? When did you finally say, okay, we're going to just do this whole thing in the cloud?
Well, people were yelling at me all the time saying, "I want it on a Mac, I want it on the internet, I want to be able to share it, I want multi-users." None of that could occur when it was on one PC. It was very clunky to try to share things.
Right.
3.5 years ago, I decided to do a conversion, and I hired someone who said to me, "This is going to be a breeze because you have all the specs, you have a working product. It's not going to take anything to convert it." What is it now? December of 2021.
Yep.
It's 3.5 years later. And of that product, we have only converted about an eighth of it.
Really? What happened to
Yes.
being a breeze?
Yeah. Being a breeze went out the window when you try to go from the security of a standalone PC to the security of the internet.
Because everybody says, oh, the cloud is this and the cloud's great and blah, blah, blah. But part of me is wondering if I'm almost tempted to go the other way these days. I'm like, maybe I should just keep everything on my PC, unplug
And
it from the internet, have an external hard drive, and have a backup hard drive at my friend's house. And I don't even get involved with the cloud. That's sort of my current mindset.
well, interestingly, there are a few firms that are starting to feel the same way. And they have asked us to resurrect our PC version for them.
Really?
Yes.
So there's a little bit of this sort of open eyes, like eyes are like eyebrows being raised about the cloud. Is that what's going on?
Eyebrows were being raised when COVID hit and cyber crimes started increasing dramatically. I still believe that there is viability for both types, and we will continue to support both types. But I'll tell you, PII, personally identifiable information, You have to deal with that when you're on the cloud. HIPAA, you have to get a HIPAA audit when you have a product that's on the
Oh, but
cloud
if it's all on someone's PC, then it doesn't matter because it's on their computer.
it's on their computer. It is totally by itself and unable to be shared if it's not connected to the internet.
Right.
So it's a different, it's a totally different way of doing business.
Yeah,
The
because I
the
see.
other thing that is so important though is people don't think about fraud. Fraud and scams are huge. And when people think of home inventories, they only think of physical assets.
Right.
What about the digital assets? What about the fact that when someone passes away, and I'm sure you've had this before, have you ever gone onto Facebook or LinkedIn and gotten a notice that a friend of yours that you know has passed away? It's their birthday today. Do you want to wish them a happy birthday?
Right.
Or it's their 12th or 15th anniversary at their firm. The reason you're getting those are because people don't know that they have those accounts, or if they know it, they don't know how to get into and close those accounts. Some of those platforms have begun to make it easier for people to close those down, but others haven't. And the problem is that fraudsters will go and look at obituaries and they'll look at who died. And from there, they'll go on to the internet and they'll try to go to the social media sites and they'll try to get all of the information they can about people so they can open up credit cards. Believe it or not,
Oh, they'll look for
well,
obituaries to do this because now they know there's no one there to stop them.
that's right. And they know that if they open up a credit card, by the time the government and Social Security and all of the other places have dealt with the probate and the fact that this person has died will be 3 to 6 months or more. So by the time the estate becomes aware that there's fraud going on, look how much damage could be done. The person who passed away doesn't care anymore. They're not around. But the estate has to deal with it and they have to unwind it. So when we talk about an inventory, I'm not just talking about the physical assets, I'm talking about the physical, the digital, the virtual, and some of the liabilities because people keep thinking a credit card is an asset. It's not. A credit card is a line of credit. It's a liability.
Right. It can only cost you money.
That's right.
You can't
That's
make
right.
any money off the credit card. So, so what are you doing in terms of sales and marketing efforts? How are you getting the word out? Is it all hand-to-hand combat? Is it Google ads? It's just phone calls to big companies. How do you get more customers?
Well, hopefully, people listening to this and watching this will start to think about the topics that we've been talking about. Will start to understand that how important it is. I mean, I keep listening to the news and hearing what's going on with the tornadoes. The tornadoes are done, and now they're off everybody's radar. But the people that were affected are still living it minute by minute. I have a very good friend, and she was in Katrina, and she got the call. She lives in New Orleans. She got the call to evacuate. They always would get a call to evacuate, so they packed an overnight bag. She and her husband and their daughter went to some friend's house in Texas, and they kept looking online to look at their neighborhood and kind of assess what was going on, but they couldn't see their neighborhood. All they could see was blue. And the reason was when the levee broke, their entire neighborhood went underwater.
Oh my gosh.
Underwater above the roof.
Oh geez.
And my friend did not have a home inventory. She lost everything. The only thing they had were the shirts on their backs and what they had in their car. They lost every critical document, every prescription, every piece of jewelry, absolutely everything. And the kick was that the insurance company that they had gave them nothing for contents because they couldn't prove what they had. She sat on a plane and she gave me an interview, and I posted a clip of the interview. And it talks about how she sat on that plane and tried to remember, as you had said earlier, what's in the closet, what's in the drawers, what's on the wall, room by room by room. She couldn't do it. She couldn't remember everything. And remember, as you get older, it's even harder. So hopefully, people will be listening to this. I try to educate, I try to motivate. I offer free webinars to help people understand how they can go about creating a home inventory. We use social media, and we have not done many paid Facebook ads. We are, publicly speak as frequently as I can. I jump on that soapbox and try to elevate the awareness level so that people will be interested. I am looking for strategic partners. I am looking for distribution channels, and I'm just at the beginning of my journey. And hopefully, there will be people that jump on the bandwagon with me.
Right. So because there's multiple issues, right? There's just people who pass away and there's no natural disaster. They just pass away. No one knows what they've got. Then there's the tornadoes and floods and hurricanes and all of that. So there's multiple ways that this matters. And I think you're right. The insurance companies can, especially in a natural disaster, when they're looking to cut costs, or they're always looking to cut costs, not pay. Look for any excuse not to pay and say, okay, well, you can't prove that you had anything in your home. And that's
I
a
think
problem.
it's not exactly that they don't want to pay. I don't really agree that that's the issue. I think that they have an obligation to the company to understand what they should pay. And the only way they can do that is to get proof. Either get it before the policy is written and make sure that the policy properly represents what the family has, or, as in the majority of the case, after the fact, where why couldn't somebody just say they had 6 Rolex watches? They had a collection. You have to be able to prove it. Now, one of the things people don't understand, can you reconstruct after a disaster? Sure, you could. In this day and age, you could, because the majority of the money that you've spent was online, or your credit card histories
Right.
are online. So
Right.
you can go back as long as you know what you're looking for. It's what you don't know that becomes the problem. If you went around, and I get back to it, you went around that house and you took 7 photos in each room, you opened up a closet and just took a picture, your fur coat was in that closet, or your special 3 different golf bags were in that closet. And if you do it in the basement, if you do it in the attic, if you do it in every single room, and you pull open the drawers and pull open the cupboards, you will be able to reconstruct and remember most of the things that you had. Will you be able to prove beyond that? That gets into the other layers where you've got to get the receipts. You've got to get additional information. But it's much better start than nothing,
Yeah,
and
it's at
it saves.
80%. You'll get most of it just from the photos. So,
Yeah.
what's your advice for someone? Because I hear this and I get overwhelmed because I think, oh, I was just trying to deal with digital backups, right? I want to make sure all my photos are backed up digitally and external hard drives, but now it's everything in the house. And where
Do
is
you
someone
know
to
how
begin?
many items on average an American home has?
Could be thousands.
Take a guess.
I mean, each thing. I mean, I'm
If you
looking around here.
count
I think
each fork, each knife, each spoon, each pair of scissors, each pen,
5,000, 10,000, 20,000. What is it? How big is it?
300,000.
No, 300,000 in one house?
Sure,
No way.
absolutely.
300. So that's like saying,
You're talking paper clips. You're talking absolutely everything. And it brings out the reality of just what percentage you really do need to look for. You don't need to look for the majority
Oh
of
yeah, I don't care
things.
about the paper clips.
You
Yeah.
don't. You only care about the big stuff
Right.
and the sentimental stuff, the financially valuable and the sentimentally valuable stuff.
Right. Right.
Because the sentimentally, that's irreplaceable. The financial, you can get reimbursed for.
Crazy. A lot to think about. This is a scary conversation. It started as a downer. It ends scary, but you're a much more positive and upbeat person. I know when we chatted before and we were prepping for this, and I was like, well, you got a lot of energy and you're positive. And I feel like I made it such a downer because I had to explain how and why you started the company. And it's real serious. I mean, you've got a real positive, upbeat personality, but the topics are life and death here.
Well, but you learn to live with what you have and appreciate what you have. I mean, a great thing, I don't know when this is going to air, but a wonderful project for families during the holiday. If you have kids, how many kids do you know that have a cell phone?
All
Let
of them.
That's right. The best gift that they could give their family is to give each of them a room to take those photos and let them put those photos into Pinventory. Tell them, think about one item in the room that you're taking photos of that you really like a photo in your grandma's house. Take that photo and then ask your grandma, what's the story behind it? Where did it come from? Why did you get it? Where were you? Where's it from? All of a sudden, think of all the skills that these kids are learning. They're learning photography. They're learning math. They may be taking dimensions. They're learning how to do research. They're learning valuations. They're learning storytelling, which is so important. They're learning to communicate, but most important, they're learning to contribute to their family's legacy.
That's true. I
And
like that.
what a gift that is for the holiday season.
So, a couple quick questions before we go. A, how much does this cost?
$6.95 a month.
Oh, okay. Very cheap. Very cheap. And then B, what do you recommend people do for their digital files? Do you recommend just dump them all in a cloud like a Google Cloud, a Microsoft Cloud, or would you recommend the same still PC based, get an external hard drive, push it somewhere else? What do you recommend for digital assets?
Digital assets,
Like all your files, like all your
that
photos and
those
your
are
files.
different. Digital
Okay.
assets, a digital asset could be an NFT. It can
Right.
be cryptocurrency.
Right.
A digital asset is a URL. It's a domain name. It's any online account that you have. A digital asset is not the same as a file. A file sits on your computer.
You're right. Good clarification. I spoke poorly. So how do you
Okay.
best save all your files then?
Oh, that's a totally different subject. I would not, I certainly would recommend that you store them apart from the computer that they're on. I use a product called Backblaze, which I use two things, by the way. And another qualifier is, are these personal or are these business?
Right.
Because you have to separate personal from business. Every night, I have an external drive that backs up all of my files to the external drive. But I also use something like Backblaze where it will automatically back things up to the cloud as well. So and all of our business information is on Rackspace, and that is backed up every night at 3 a.m. So you're talking to someone who is a firm believer in backups.
I am very impressed. And then before we go, has there ever been a time where, despite all of this stuff that you're talking about, you still lost something or forgot something, and you're like, I can't believe that I'm the expert on this, and we still couldn't keep track of something?
Of course, it's like the shoemaker's shoes. Absolutely. I could tell you about the time that I accidentally spilled coffee on my keyboard and I watched the computer fizzle and just die.
That makes me nervous. I have a big cup of water right here. You saw me drinking it earlier. It's right
You
here
have
next
to
to my
be very
keyboard.
careful what
I
you keep by your
I
computer.
need to put it far away.
The one other thing I wanted to say is for people that don't want to do it themselves, we offer a service. So if you are finally convinced based on this discussion that you really should be looking at your, what I call a life inventory, your home inventory, your critical documents, your digital assets, then if you know you need to do it and you don't want to do it, we will do it for you. We'll
How
come
much does that
in.
cost?
It depends
Oh,
on
how
the
much you have in the
size.
house. Yeah,
Of
how long does
course,
it take? Yeah.
it depends on how deep you want us to go, how much you want us to do. We could just do your initial very, very simple one and then turn it over to you, or we could do the whole thing and give you a digital catalog of everything.
Interesting.
So, all
Interesting. A
depends.
lot, a lot of a lot of things to ponder, certainly in this holiday season as people are getting more things, right? Things that are worth money, that have sentimental value. So, Carol, I appreciate the time. And this has really been a fascinating conversation about your journey from teaching to hedge funds to inventory management. It is all that back office stuff. I worked in a couple of hedge funds. All of this stuff really matters because if you don't get it organized,
It's true.
you go out of business, right? So I can see why
Yep.
you take this so seriously. Carol, appreciate the time. Thanks for coming and chatting with me today.
You're very welcome.